So for those who haven't already spoken to the substantive motion, is there anyone that wishes to speak to the motion? Look, I would just like to make a few comments, noting that we have been discussing this and it is getting late, but it is important. And I think that it's, I really just want to go to the point that this has been a lengthy process. There's been a lot of talk around have we got, the best proposals on the table? And I think that it's really important to go back to the original decision of Council of the 14th of September 2021, when Council approved the Leederville Precinct Structure Plan. That was the expression of Council's vision for Leederville. That was the expression of the vision, the planning framework, that we then asked the proponents to come back to us with their proposal. So this hasn't been some go out and open it up to the world and cross your fingers and hope what you get back. This has actually been absolutely comprehensively framed by the Leederville Precinct Structure Plan, which was advertised and underwent extensive community consultation before we got to the point of adopting that in September. So already a lengthy process. Even in its development, it took an inordinate amount of time to develop, much to the frustration of administration and many of the councillors, including myself in the room. We then developed an expression of interest process in December 2021. And I think there's been a lot of discussion about the process, and that the council has adopted a process, a request for proposal process, which was clear, it articulated criteria, it gave the parameters to the proponents to respond. And we were very fortunate to receive 8 responses. On the 18th of October, we ended up shortlisting those to 3, and I think we were quite blown away by the quality and by the abilities and reputation of the proponents that put forward these proposals. And I personally felt extremely delighted to see the way in which they had reflected in their proposals the vision of the Leederville Precinct Structure Plan and the respect for Leederville, its culture, its grit, its charm. To see that reflected back was absolutely fantastic to see. We have been through those proposals. They were presented to a council workshop. We then requested further information from the 3 proponents, and they have come back to us with that additional information as part of that round 2 of questions, and that has then been assessed from a qualitative perspective in terms of how that reflects the criteria set by council, which is outlined in a non-confidential attachment available for the community to read, as well as against our Leederville Precinct Structure Plan, and as well as the commercial offering. And we've had a lot of expertise in the room to do that. We've had internal expertise, external expertise from Cygnet West. We've had an Officer of Development WA sit on our evaluation panel. And to be frank, I've been absolutely blown away by the competence shown by our Director, John Corbellini, and our Manager, Tara Gloucester, in their knowledge, in their ability to get across the detail. Every question we have thrown at them, they have answered in a utterly comprehensive way. So this is not just external expertise, but our own staff, to see them shine through the process in their understanding and capability through this has just really been incredible. And where we've landed with this recommendation, where we have got a clear commercial assessment that has indicated that proponent number 2 is the preferred to engage with further through a heads of agreement and to actually flesh out some further detail. I'm extremely comfortable with where we landed, and I'm extremely excited to see this process move forward and for us to be able to consider further what can be delivered and to see our Leederville Activity Structure Plan potentially come to life and all that means to Leederville. So I'm absolutely delighted in where we're landing. I feel incredibly well briefed. I feel that I have asked the questions I need to ask, that I've attended the workshops I need to attend to satisfy myself. I'm in no way under any duress to take this next step forward, but I do it in full knowledge and with full respect for the process, and feeling extremely confident about where we are and where we're going to next. So to the advisors, Cygnet West, and to Kevin Stanton, thank you, and to our staff, thank you, and to our officer from Development WA, thank you also. So very happy to endorse this recommendation to council and to take this next step forward. Is there any other debate before I move the motion? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? All those against? I declare that carried with councillor Iapolo and councillor Alexander voting against the motion. Thank you very much, Ian and John, and thank you very much, Kevin, for joining us at this late hour. Okay, we still have 10 items to deal with, so I'll go to item 9.1, which is 4 Primrose Street, Perth, proposed alterations and additions to a group dwelling.
Excuse me, Emma, is it appropriate at some point to vote whether we should continue or adjourn? Because in the past we've done this and then people complained that we kept going past 10 o'clock.
Well, we have a development application and this one was called out by you. So we really do need to deal with it because we have a statutory time frame to deal with on this item. So I'm calling it out and moving forward. Are you wishing to move this given that you pulled it out? Seconded by Councillor Loden. Councillor Iapolo. Would you like me to recall and ask someone else to, can I do that procedurally? You found it? Okay.
Thank you. Just a question. Apologies, I didn't get to this during the briefing. I just want a clarification for administration on it said in the notes in the agenda item that the existing dwelling was 3 stories in height. Yet the site was only the site is only for a 2-story building height. So are they not in compliance already? Could I just get clarification on that?
Through you, Mayor Cole, yes, that's correct. It's a 2-story building height area. And the 3-story building has been previously approved on the site. Sorry, through you, Mayor Cole, the building has been there since the early 2000s, I believe, or late 1990s. So it's been there for quite a long time.
Seconded by Councillor Loden. Any comments? Any further comments on this item? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declare that carried. Item 9.5, Mount Hawthorn Youth Skate Space. Moved by Councillor Castle. Do you want to move this one? Councillor Castle, you've been on the working group. Seconded by...
I didn't pull it out.
You didn't know, I know. I'm just trying
to
get some pace. Councillor Hallett seconding. Do you have any comments?
Go for it. Really happy to see this progressing, and we know that Skate Sculpture are a quality outfit, so I can't speak. It's 10 o'clock at night.
Councillor Hallett, anything further? Councillors? Councillor Iapolo?
Just some questions. I looked up Skate Culture online and it was a online skate store based in Sydney. I'm presuming that's not the applicant. I couldn't find anything other than an ASIC search which indicated that there was a partnership of 3 individuals. But I don't know. I just was really, which started in 2015. My question is, what's the history or trading history of the business in terms of their expertise to fulfill the tender, the $300,000 tender? What website is it? .com.au. I looked that up. It was a skate.
Through you, Mayor Cole, just to answer, yes, they're Perth, I believe, Vincent located business who have done many skate parks from large scale to small scale, local governments and all different areas around WA. You could probably see why we only got the 2 submissions, because it's quite a unique offering, but they would be the most experienced, if I could say that, in WA in this market.
Sculpture, not culture. Okay, sorry. I think what it was is I misinterpreted and did.
Okay,
skate
we get
culture.
that, but can we just keep to the debate
Skate culture.
at this hour? Let's just be succinct. Is there anything further?
Was there anything in the contract mitigation to protect us from a default mid contract?
Through you, Mayor Cole, the proposal that they have submitted and we have evaluated has the timeframe and mitigations in that, considering the weather. But we have not kind of gone into whether the key risks of whether they could at some point not be able to deliver the project based on they were evaluated based on their experience and their capability to deliver it. And they were rated quite highly on that.
I guess there's nothing in their insurance policy that they had to provide that could protect us from a default due to a liquidation or a bankruptcy.
Through you, Mayor Cole, that would be in our contract, but I wouldn't say it was in anything that they submitted themselves.
Anything further on the skate park, councillors? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Next item is 9.8, advertising of new policy pickle district planning framework. I think this one I did pull out because I have a very short amendment on the table. Can I ask for a mover and seconder on this item? Moved by Councillor Loden, seconded by Councillor Wallace. Councillor Loden.
I'm happy to support the proposal, but I'm supportive of the amendment and we'll move it once the seconder has an opportunity to speak.
Seconder, Mr. Wallace, Councillor Wallace. Nothing. Okay, back to you, Councillor Loden.
I'm moving the grey on the grey, the amendment on the grey, if I can get a seconder.
Councillor Hallett, are you seconding the amendment? Thank you. Do you wish to speak to it?
Yep, just quickly, I think this is reflective some of the feedback we had from the council meeting last week and is a good step for us to take. I suspect the mayor might like to speak to this as well. Thank you.
Councillor Hallett.
Defer to you.
Look, the reason I put this forward is because I think John Denaro from the Pickle District sent some very good emails and really was questioning what is the chance of actually affecting an arts and cultural space if we're starting at heights of 18 stories, and given the sort of heights that are likely to be proposed in the area. We're looking at a Bunnings and there's a prospective development coming as well. And so I did have the discussion about, have we explored all mechanisms to enable this consideration? Could we look at how we look at % for art, for example, in the Pickle District? Could we look at some kind of other way in which to encourage developers to provide these spaces if they're not reaching the dizzying heights of 18 stories? So I do note that in planning, this can be very difficult to achieve, and that whatever we put forward would then have to be tested through the state government, etc. But I think it is definitely worth trying, because I think that this idea of actually trying to keep cultural spaces in the Pickle District is at the core of all of the feedback that we receive when we engage on what makes the Pickle District special and what we're trying to do. So this was really a discussion with the manager of policy in place to talk about, are there any other mechanisms? We don't know, but it gives an opportunity for that to be fleshed out. That was it. Any further debate? Okay, I'll put the amendment. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. And back to the substantive. Is everyone happy to move the substantive as amended? All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. 9.9, City of Vincent Arts Plan approval to advertise. Moved by Councillor Iapolo, seconded by Councillor Wallace.
Just two quick questions. The arts plan on page 37 and 38 allocates budgetary funds for FY24 to 28. Totaling 750,000. Are we effectively pre-approving the allocation of funds ahead of the budget? And if so, how much does relate to FY24? Is it roughly 250K?
Through you, Mayor Cole, no, these are just indicative funds of how much we think it would cost. But the actual approval of that budget will go through the budgeting process. So no, there is no approval of those funds.
Thank you. And the second question, what's unique to Vincent's art plan vis-a-vis other local governments?
Through you, Mayor Cole, I think probably the biggest unique part of this arts plan would be its vision. It's very, what would you say? I'm lost for words. It's a very strong vision, and to be the arts capital of Perth would make it the only one. So that's probably starts off with that. And I think that vision and those themes kind of carry itself through the entire document.
It's good to be bold. Thank you.
Any further comments on the arts plan? Okay, I'll put it, all those in favour. That's carried. 9.11, outcome of advertising strategic community plan 22 to 2032. Any mover and seconder, please? Moved by councillor Castle, seconded by councillor Loden. Anything to add at this stage? Councillor Loden, anything? Councillor Apollo, you have a question or a debate?
Question. Given that it's an informing strategy to the integrated planning and reporting framework, obviously important document, is there any major changes since the last community plan? And did we learn anything from how it was executed previously?
Isn't that in the report?
Through you, Mayor Cole, I think the best or the summary of consultation was really that people like what we're doing. They like the SCP. They like the direction. They think it still rings true. So there was not many grave changes in this SCP review. One of the priority areas changed from connected community to connected and healthy community to reference our health plan. So I think probably the main changes reference the progression that we've made in certain areas, but the overall vision and the direction of the city remains relatively the same.
That was all included in the report.
There was 3,000 pages we had to get through. So if I
Yeah,
showed a bit of
all
attitude.
of us
Thank
did, yes, all of us collectively.
I guess the point, I
Okay,
didn't see it that it was, where the changes were made with a, what do you call it? Marked up, yeah.
Are there any further comments in relation to this motion? Okay, I'll put it, all those in favour. Declare that carried. Next item is 9.13, extension of leases to child and adolescent health services for child health clinics. Moved by councillor Hallett, seconded by councillor Wallace. Councillor Hallett,
Support the recommendation.
councillor Wallace. Councillors. Councillor Apollo.
The current rent was quoted in there for the clinics at $6,253. It wasn't clear as to per annum, monthly, weekly. I'm assuming it's per annum.
Through the chair, yes, confirming that's per annum.
Is it correct? Sorry, I'm not familiar with this. Are the child health clinics operated by the Department of Health as not-for-profit entities?
Through the chair, they are operated as a service of the Department of Health.
And I just wanted to confirm, given it's peppercorn rent, I just wanted to make sure that that's the same treatment for other clinics in other cities, that it's pretty much what we're getting is commensurate with what you would get for a similar size premises and including outgoings in other local governments.
Through the chair, the rent is based on council's adopted property management framework, which sets out how we charge for the various types of uses that exist within the city. At the time of adopting that considered other council approaches. I wouldn't be able to comment now on whether this specifically is commensurate with other councils.
Through you, Mayor Cole, my understanding is most councils provide peppercorn rents to the Department of Health to run child health clinics.
Last question, and relates to your recommendation at point 2. It says subject to final satisfactory negotiations. Can you just clarify why that's been included? What is it that, as part of the negotiation, that could sway us whether to extend the lease?
Through the chair, that's just to confirm that we are able to reach a suitable outcome with the Department of Health to sign the lease. So that there's not concern that of the terms that are proposed, but it's subject to both parties agreeing and signing to those terms. They've already accepted what's proposed and it's consistent with their existing lease terms. It's just the terminology.
Any further questions or comments in relation to 9.13? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declare that carried. 9.14 offers for sale 25 Sydney Street, North Perth. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by councillor Loden, seconded by councillor Warner.
I'm supportive of the proposal.
Councillor Warner,
I second that. Thank you.
councillor Apollo,
Got a question about one of the confidential attachments. Which, because we only received it today, because it was missing from the attachments.
can we do it at the end if you've moved and seconded this already? Can you ask the question without breaching confidentiality?
I'll ask the question, but if it's not appropriate, you don't have to answer it. Was the market valuation received all? Sorry, was the offers all below the market valuation?
Through the chair,
Yes.
yes, that's the purpose that the report is coming to council, because council's decision on this matter 12 months ago stated that administration can only accept offers equal to the market valuation or greater than.
Why is there any other? If we didn't achieve what we thought would be the market valuation, I'm just questioning why we would proceed if we're selling it for less than market value.
Through the chair,
Outlined in the report.
Again, sorry, Mayor Cole, but the report was missing from the original attachments. I requested it today, and given the volume that we had to cover and so late when I received it, I didn't
Yep,
get a chance
okay,
to read
thank
it.
you. Go to the answer, thanks.
through the chair, it's been nearly 12 months since we had the market valuation. The market has shifted somewhat. We're comfortable with the value. The offer that we did receive is quite close to what the market valuation was. We received over 32 inquiries about the site when it went up for sale. So there was sufficient interest. We did receive competitive offers on the site, and we are comfortable that what is proposed as the offer is suitable and reflective of where the market currently is.
Last question. Can I just, is it roughly at least 90% of what we were getting, or can I not ask that?
Through the chair, it's within, yes, there's a less than 10% difference.
Any further questions in relation to this item? And put the motion. All those in favour? Declare that carried. We're on to CEO items. I'm just wondering in relation to 12.1, I did have some questions on delegations, but I'm very conscious of the time. I just wondered if that's time sensitive or if that could be deferred to the 20th of June. Okay, it's a option if councillors wish to move a procedural motion on that one. 12.1, annual review of council delegations, moved by councillor Hallett, seconded by councillor Warner. Councillor Hallett,
I'd like to foreshadow a move to defer.
councillor Warner, do you wish to speak to it before it's deferred? Is there any concern? It just has to be done by June 30, I assume, and the meeting's on the 20th of June. Okay, so I've got a deferral motion to defer this to the next council meeting. All those in favour? Declare that carried. Item 12.2, Leaderville Oval sponsorship and naming rights, moved by councillor Wallace, seconded by councillor Loden.
Really sorry for being contrary at this late hour, but I just strongly object to selling the naming rights to Leaderville Oval for such a paltry sum. Like it's a community piece of infrastructure. Everybody in the city of Vincent and the state through their sponsorship has paid a significant amount of money for this. Naming it Leaderville Oval gives us a strong sense of place and ownership to the local community. I know we're not the richest council going around, but I don't see a reason to give that up for this sum of money here. So I can't support this item.
Seconded by councillor Loden.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wallace. Wasn't quite prepared for that, so you've made me think. It's a good challenge, so I will consider that and let others speak.
Is this a time sensitive matter? If we're sort of got different views around the council table, this could take some time.
Through Mayor Cole, yes, both the waffle clubs are desperate for this revenue. It's shared 1/3 each. Both East Perth Football Club and Subiaco Football Club are in dire financial difficulties. They have trouble sometimes meeting some of our sort of requests and obligations around upkeep of that facility. So this is mission critical for those two clubs, but I'm happy to, I can provide more detail around that if you're interested.
Councillor Layden, you want to go back to seconding? Or
Am I still permitted to speak? Have
I don't think that
finished
we've gone to the
speaking?
next, did we go to the next speaker? No, we hadn't yet, so that's okay.
Got in under the wire. So I'm comfortable supporting this. I acknowledge the point. But I think that's probably beneficial. That it is not a huge amount of money, but the clubs will benefit from it. We will slightly benefit from it. Well, if I'd had more time, I might have moved an amendment to allocate the funds to public open space, but I'll won't do that at the last minute. So
You can always
cheers.
do that through the budget.
Yeah.
Councillors, any further debate? Look, sorry, Councillor Warner.
Sorry, I'll take a minute just to say, as someone who works in sponsorship, I would recommend taking anyone that falls within your ethical boundaries. I'm a huge supporter of ethical sponsorship. Obviously, yeah, the more money you can get, the better, but this is something, so I support this.
Thank you. I'd also just say that it is very common practice for sporting fields to be named, branded. Even at Menzies Oval, we have sponsorship signage on the local parks hall, which is probably where I start to feel some discomfort, probably more so than Leederville Oval. I think our halls and reserves should probably be in that, sponsor-free space. But I think that Leederville Oval is getting to that sort of more stadium level type sponsorship, and everything's got a name except for during the Women's World Cup when things have to be called rectangular ovals. So generally quite comfortable with this. And I think the clubs would be very distraught if we said no. Any further debate? Okay, I'll put the item. All those in favour? All those against? Respecting that. Last item, joy of just finish on something very, very. Oh yeah, 12.4 report and minutes of the audit committee meeting held on the 14th of May 2023, moved by Councillor Apollo, seconded by Councillor Wallace.
Conscious of time, but I did want to say that the audit committee has been doing a ton of work. So I want to publicly acknowledge both councillors on that committee, but also the externals. The minutes are there. So yeah, thank you.
Councillor Wallace, did you have anything? Councillors, okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Declare that carried. So we have already dealt with the notice of motion at 13.1, and that concludes all of the business that we are to deal with this evening. It has been a long meeting, but we have reached 10:30, and I'd like to thank you all,